Most business owners spend years wondering how much they could actually sell their business for, but they spend very, very little time preparing for the actual exit itself. And that lack of preparation could cost them hundreds of thousands, possibly even millions of dollars. Because the best time to begin preparing for your business to be sold is not 6 months before you plan to exit. It's years before you actually plan to sell your business. But here's the rub. Many business owners actually miss one of the most important questions that you need to ask yourself before you sell your business. And that question is, what is my wealth gap? What is the amount of money that I'm going to need after tax from this sale so that I can maintain my standard of living once I'm no longer running this business day to day? And one of the first ways you get to work on that is understanding what you actually have as your income floor. Pretend for a moment that you're not receiving any money from your business. You're only relying on other sources of income, like maybe Social Security or maybe an old pension. What do those sources of income actually pay you? That is your income floor. That floor and what you need, that gap is your wealth gap. What do we have to do? What do we need post sale of the business to be able to fill that wealth gap so that you can have the income that you want once you are no longer running your business? I'm Michael Baker, and I've spent years talking to people about retirement income and how to, exit their corporate work or exit their business and move into their retirement stage of life where they are no longer running things day to day. Maybe they're working part-time, but for the most part, they are now living on the resources that they've accumulated or the plans they built during their working years. And here are 5 specific things that I want you to be thinking about, especially if you're a business owner and this applies to you. The first one is you got to know your numbers, not just your EBITDA, not just your revenue, not just your cost to acquire clients. Those numbers are very important. And most business owners, the really good ones, know those numbers like the back of their hand. But what I'm talking about, you need to know what your business is actually worth. Not only what you think it's worth, but what it's actually worth. Where if you put that business on the market to attract multiple different types of buyers, how they're going to look at your business and how they're going to value your business so you can know exactly what you should be targeting for a valuation metric. You see, the sad thing is that many business owners just take a guess. What they're working with is guesswork or maybe word of mouth. Maybe a friend or a competitor sold their business, or they know somebody else who sold their business for such and such value. That's not the numbers we want to work with. We want you to know your own number or your range that you have to work within. 5 years out, you want to have your head wrapped around these key things: your approximate valuation, your key value drivers, the multiples your industry actually trades at, and the factors that quietly drag down the value of your specific business. If you figure this out early, then you have years to improve these numbers, not weeks. Here's the second key move you need to think about, and that is removing you or removing owner dependency. What does that look like? All right, I get it. Many of us entrepreneurs, we secretly like the fact that our business needs us. We like the fact that the business needs us to operate, that we are the key cog in the wheel that makes things go. But we need to begin divorcing ourselves from the ego of that and start thinking about our business as an entity that needs to be able to operate without us. Because the more your business depends on you specifically to operate, the less valuable it's going to be to a potential buyer. Ask yourself, can this business run without me? Are my systems in place? Are my systems written down? If I were to walk away from my business for 6 weeks, would everything fall apart, or could business continue as usual? It's well known within the business valuation world that many potential buyers are actually looking for businesses where the owner or the founder isn't required to stay on for a long period of time. They actually want to buy the business and have the business added to either their portfolio of companies or to allow them to continue to grow and reach economies of scale. And the less your business depends on you, there's a really good chance that it's going to be even more attractive to potential buyers. Move number 3, we got to clean up our financials. Yes, bookkeeping is not fun. In fact, most people avoid it like the plague. I mean, who's got time to deal with bookkeeping when you're running a business, right? Well, first of all, if you don't have bookkeepers, you need to have bookkeepers because they actually thrive in that, and that's what they're there to do. But we want to make sure your books are clean and that they're organized. A key thing that a lot of business owners do, especially when their business is kind of a cash cow and it's the economic engine of your household, we tend to run a lot of our personal expenses through the business. Things where they may be classified as a draw, or maybe it's a business expense, maybe it's not, but we tend to run a lot of our personal expenditures through the business or through the company. Well, that creates a lot of fat within your books. Now, it might work for you specifically while you are the owner operator of the business, but we got to think about how a buyer is going to look at and value your business. And so we need to start cleaning that up and looking at what specifically needs to no longer be run through the business, or what needs to be specifically pinpointed for when you're going through a negotiation process. You're like, hey, these items are actually add back items. They're here while I'm here, but once I'm gone, this money is no longer going to be used for these things, so they could be considered an add back item to the overall cash flow. And I could tell you that messy books make almost every buyer nervous. So you want to have clean accounting, clean bookkeeping. All right, quick aside. Now listen, if you're still with me and you're listening to this and you're wondering, man, I don't know where my business is in any of this. I'm so busy running the business, I don't have time, or I haven't even thought about half of this stuff, but I know that I can't go on forever. I know that I need a plan to try to figure this out, either for my family to take it over, for me to find a buyer, for me to find, how I can exit this business and get the value out. Hey, you're in the right place. This is what we do for a living, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. So if this sounds like you, click the link in the description and schedule a fit call with our team today. Move number 4. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but trust me when I tell you, this is something that you absolutely need to plan for and many people miss. That is taxes. That's right. Big numbers sound amazing. When you get to go to a business negotiation and you see a valuation number and you're going through the process of selling or agreeing to terms for what you're going to sell your business for, those big numbers can be exciting. They can be very, very compelling. But one thing you have to think about is how much of that do you actually get to keep? Because that is going to be the secret sauce when this is all said and done. It's not that you sold your business for X amount of dollars. It's how much you actually get to keep of that sale price. Taxes can take a serious bite out of what you get to walk away with. And this is more important for those business owners who have really highly valuable businesses that are going to sell for multiples, because you want to be planning years in advance, because if you plan in advance, that can help you come up with a tax strategy for having an orderly exit where you get to keep most of the value that you've created. Of course, I'm not a CPA or a tax attorney, but I could tell you from working with those types of professionals that they would greatly appreciate you considering taxes well in advance. So any type of strategic planning that you can do years in advance is only going to pay dividends down the road. All right, we talked about this at the beginning of the video, but this is the part where a lot of owners get stuck, because we know we've got to do some work on the front end. We know we need to put a strategic exit strategy together that may take years to begin preparing the business. We know we need clean books. We know we need to find out what our numbers are. We know we need to understand what pieces of the business are actually a plus, putting us in, in a higher valuation, and what's actually dragging our values down. But let's talk about you specifically and what you need to get out of this, because ultimately your business has most likely been functioning as the economic engine for you and your family for a period of time, and your reliance on that continual cash flow, those continued paychecks, may be coming to an end, and you're going to extract out the equity that you've created, the value that you've created. But what you need to know is what type of lifestyle can that sale price actually support? This is where the income planning piece comes in. And where I said at the beginning of the video, we need to know what our income floor is going to be on day one outside of the business. What do we need to cover between our income floor and what we actually need as our lifestyle? That gap, if you will, that wealth gap, that's going to be what do we need after tax so that the money that we walk away with can actually be used to create a sustainable income stream or paycheck during retirement. That's what this ultimately is trying to figure out, because that's ultimately the goal, right? Is to be able to sell your business, take your value, and be able to continue on with the lifestyle that you've planned for and created for yourself. So this is what has to happen. We have to answer this question. What happens after the sale? How much income are you going to need? What type of lifestyle are we trying to fund and protect? And what kind of paycheck do we need to create from those proceeds? That's what we're trying to build. And ultimately, in my opinion, that's what gives you the license to spend in your retirement years. And here's the part that's different based on where you stand right now. If you are 10 years out from a business exit, time is actually on your side. You have the time right now to begin strategically doing not just your professional business planning, but also your personal financial planning, where you can strategically build that floor as you go. You could put pieces in place that you could make strategic moves over the next decade. So your sale actually becomes just a bonus. It's an add-on. It's not a rescue. But if you are, let's say, 5 years or less out, then more and more of your income floor, if you will, is likely going to be coming from the proceeds of your business sale, which is why it is critical for you to start thinking about this from a buyer's perspective. What does my business need to look like? Am I a key component that I need to figure out how to have my business run without me? All of the work that we talked about in this video, you need to get going on it, because time is actually moving against you. It's not in your favor. So think about this. If your business, if most of your net worth, and this happens for most business owners, if the majority of your net worth is locked up in your business, we want to begin working on building that. We want that to be as valuable as possible, so that when you plan to exit, not only has the exit been planned for, you are prepared and you're ready to walk out the door and maximize your value. So here's the main idea. Owners who get the best exits don't get them just because they're ready to sell. They get them because they've prepared for years in advance and they're ready when the time comes. So to wrap it up, know your numbers, clean up your books, understand what may be dragging down your value, learn how to extract yourself from the business and build a business that can run and operate without you. And lastly, you want to understand your own personal wealth gap. What are you going to need personally? The income from your business or the proceeds of this sale, what kind of income is that going to need to generate so that you can protect your lifestyle in retirement? The earlier you start, the more options you are going to have, because in the end, the business itself was never really what this was about. This was about how you could create financial independence and freedom for not only yourself, but for your family and possibly even future generations. You're doing the work. You've earned the right to do this planning so that when you do exit, you have the life that you've created and you've also built a legacy that will last. So, hey, if you are 5 to 10 years out from selling your business or having an exit, or if you're a highly compensated corporate worker, you need to start thinking about your future and putting those plans in place today. We'd love to have a conversation with you and just figure out where you're at. And if we are able to help, if our team and our resources can be a fit or an asset to you, we'd love to have that conversation. Click on the link in the description box and schedule a call with us today. No pressure, just a conversation to figure out where you're at and if we can be of service. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.